Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of OmenG's Stupid Scary Stories, number 40. I'll be reading from the book Connecticut Ghost Stories and Legends by Thomas D'Agostino and Arlene Nicholson, part of their Haunted America series. Today's story is Hale Homestead. About 20 years prior to this writing, Nathan Hale was given the honor of becoming Connecticut's state hero. Everybody knows the story of how Hale became a spy for the American cause. He disguised himself as a Dutch schoolmaster, crossed enemy lines, and obtained information vital to the progress of the Patriot forces. Unfortunately, he was captured on September 21st, 1776, while attempting to escape across the enemy's stronghold. William Howe, a British commander, tried him as a spy and sentenced him to hang on the following day. At the gallows, he faced his fate proudly by saying something to the effect of, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country." Of course, that was a paraphrase taken from one of the greatest plays of all time, Cato, by Joseph Addison. Undoubtedly the words of Scene 4, Act 4. "What a pity is it that we can die but once to serve our country," were fresh on his mind when he went to the gallows. Being a Yale graduate and school teacher, Hale would have been very familiar with the work. Hale, Patrick Henry, and even George Washington orated many quotes from the play. In some cases, Washington would enact scenes from the work for his troops. 5 years after Hale was executed, the Independent Chronicle and the Universal Advertiser from Boston ran a story about the event, stating that Hale actually said, "I am so satisfied with the cause in which I have engaged that my only regret is that I have not more lives than one to offer in its service." In Haunted Heritage by Michael Norman and Beth Scott, they speak of a diary entry written by a British captain named Frederick Mackenzie, in which he wrote that Hale said while at the gallows, he thought it the duty of every good officer to obey any orders given him by his commander-in-chief. Other newspapers offer a variety of quotes from that famous moment. At this point, it does not matter exactly what he said or where Hale got his inspiration. His immortality rests in the undying love and devotion he had for the cause of liberty and freedom of the people. Today, he is still a symbol of liberty and bravery. He may still be lingering in an effort to observe how we have prospered from his sacrifice. As a few ghosts of the Hale family haunt the farm where he was born and raised, perhaps others who have graced the walls of the home over the years may remain there as well. The Hale Homestead is on 12 acres of a 500-acre state park. Evidence of the original home where Nathan was born sits just a few yards from the present home. Parts of the original structure were incorporated into the newer one. The home is open for tours and holds many special events throughout the year. Richard Hale, a deacon and justice of the peace, built the original house in 1746. Richard married a local woman, Elizabeth Strong, and together they had 12 children. 10 of them survived to adulthood, which in those days was a great number. Nathan, born in 1755, was the 6th child of 9 boys and 3 girls. Nathan was 12 years old when his mother died, giving birth to her 12th child in 1767. Deacon Hale then courted and married Abigail Cobb Adams, a wealthy woman from Canterbury. She had 3 teenage daughters who came to live with them. It was obvious that the original home would not accommodate such a considerable crew, so they dismantled it and built a larger one using portions of the old structure. This is the sizable dwelling that visitors see to this day as they tour the grounds of the homestead. Nathan graduated from Yale University and became a school teacher in East Haddam and New London before joining the Continental Army. By 1775, young Master Hale had become first lieutenant and showed great promise of a brilliant military career. In 1776, Nathan volunteered to sneak behind enemy lines on Long Island to obtain information crucial to the fight for freedom. Unfortunately, Nathan was captured and hanged a few days later at the age of 21. He never had a chance to rest his bones in the newer house, having left to fight for the revolution before it was built. History reports that his body was never found, although there is a monument in his honor resting within the confines of the Nathan Hale Cemetery at Wagenbog Lake in Coventry. 5 other brothers also served in the colonial army with Nathan. The enemy forces captured 2 other brothers. One brother, Joseph, spent time chained up in a prison ship until he was traded for a British soldier. 3 of Hale's children died from wounds received during the struggle for freedom from England. The house remained in the Hale family for several generations. As many as 20 people may have occupied the residence at one particular time. When a person died during the 18th and 19th centuries, it was common to have him or her laid out in the home. During the winter months, when the ground was frozen, the deceased might have been stored either in the basement or, as in the case of the Hale home, in the attic until the spring thaw allowed the family to dig a proper grave. Much time had gone by since Deacon Hale had built the home, and this passing of time took its toll on the old abode. By 1914, the house was in shambles. George Dudley Seymour, lived 1859 to 1945, acquired the estate and began extensive renovations of the property. Seymour was an admirer of Hale and his accomplishments. He wrote not only about the life and death of Nathan Hale and his family, but of some strange accounts that occurred in the home as well. These ghostly happenings began almost immediately after Seymour became acquainted with the estate. According to an account written in Seymour's journal, he and a friend traveled to Coventry to view the manor. As they arrived, his friend alighted from the coach and scurried to get a glimpse inside the little schoolroom Deacon Hale had built for his children. When he peered through the pane, he came face to face with a gent in colonial dress. The entity gave a stern look through the panes and then vanished as the man stood, stunned by the visage he had just witnessed. They toured the home, and he was even more startled when he saw a portrait of the deacon himself. It was the exact face that had peered at him through the schoolhouse window. Mr. Seymour was not the only one to witness the ghostly phenomenon. The ghost of a former housekeeper in a long white dress wanders about the house. It is reported that the spirit may be that of Lydia Carpenter, the Hales' former family servant. Witnesses have spied her sweeping upstairs, moving about in the kitchen, gliding down the halls, and peeking around doors. It appears the centuries have not affected her dedication to keeping the homestead tidy, as she is still very active in her toils. Some guests and caretakers have attested to the rattling of chains in the cellar. It has been surmised that they might be from Joseph Hale, who died of tuberculosis, then called consumption, in the home. During the war, Joseph was imprisoned on a British ship, and he is somehow eternally reliving those moments in the cellar of the house, rattling the chains that kept him from escaping. Mary and George Griffith became caretakers of the house in 1930. They lived there for many years and observed countless strange incidents could not only be rationally explained. One day, Mary watched as her husband walked out to the barn to milk the cows. Moments later, she heard footsteps thumping down the back stairs. She and her husband were the only occupants of the building, and no one had entered or left other than Mr. Griffith. The Griffiths believed that John, Nathan's brother, and John's wife, Sarah, may have been to blame for some of the noises in the house. The Griffiths claimed that this couple was among the spirits they had encountered during their tenure at the Hale Homestead. But the exact culprits who spooked the Griffith couple still remain a mystery, like many of the haunts within the Hale Homestead. The home was deeded to Connecticut Landmark Society in 1940, and is presently furnished to exact specification of the room's description in Jonathan Hale's 1803 inventory taken after his death in 1802. Both John and his wife Sarah died of consumption in the house. Arlene and I, along with fellow investigator Andrew Lake, were invited to tour and investigate the house. Rochelle Simon, Elizabeth O'Brien, and Beverly York of the Connecticut Landmark Society greeted us with gracious welcomes and proceeded to give us a guided tour through the historic chambers. Each of the docents had something to share about the ghosts of the Hale home. The first room we entered was a small parlor. As we stood around talking, the fan on the door used for cooling the room turned off and back on. This happened 3 times. We looked for faulty wiring or perhaps a bad plug, but none was the case. Although not conclusively paranormal, it was rather uncanny nonetheless. In the next room was a portrait of Deacon Hale. One of the tour guides, Tina, was showing the house to a family of 3. The 6-year-old child was completely misbehaving, running through the rooms and touching things. He ran into the room where the deacon, being a justice of the peace, often held court to settle disputes between locals. This is also where the portrait is suspended upon the wall and is aptly named the Judgment Room. The little boy came running out of the room in a panic, screaming, "There's a man in the room!" Tina told him it was just a painting and led him into the room to show him. The boy shook his head and said, "There was another man in here just like him, a real one!" At that point, the family had to leave the house as the boy was too disturbed by the sighting. Beverly then interjected jokingly, "Let that be a lesson to all. Don't misbehave in the Hale Homestead." As we toured the upstairs, there was a sudden sound of the door banging and some footsteps from the first floor. Andrew inquired if there was anyone else in the house. Beverly went down to investigate but came up perplexed. Her search of the downstairs revealed that the door had been secured and there was no one else in the house besides our small party. We took EMF, electrical magnetic field readings, and recorded for EVPs once more, but all was silent and still in regard to any paranormal activity. Beverly then told us a story of 2 guides who had an experience in the home. One of the guides heard something upstairs and thought it was the other giving a tour. She called out, "Are you upstairs?" And a voice answered, "We are up here." She then proceeded to the barn where she met the other guide. Kind of confused as to how the guy would be back at the barn so fast, she asked her who she had just guided on the tour of the house. The other guide answered, "I have not done a tour yet. I have been here the whole time." The only entrance to the house was in plain view of where they both stood. The 2 guides cautiously ventured into the home to survey the situation, but no one was in there. If someone had entered or left the building, they would have noticed. We decided to try a vigil in the room where Nathan's trunk and rifle are exhibited. Our meters were still not picking up any unusual activity, and the home seemed very peaceful. We then climbed the stairs to the attic, where the family held their loved ones who had passed away prior to the spring thaw for burial. This is where Elizabeth had an experience that she explained as such. "I was leaving the house one day. It was a very dismal Sunday afternoon and there was no sun at all. As I looked up, I saw something glowing in the attic window. It was a tall, strange light that did not look real. I thought I might have left the light on. Later, I went into the attic and noticed there was only one light, and it is completely blocked from the window by the massive chimney. When we ascended to the attic, where we performed some EVPs and took some pictures of the window where Elizabeth witnessed the occurrence, we all reviewed the pictures and noticed a strange flickering light in one of them. Other than that, the Hale home was quiet. A paranormal investigation is much like fishing. With the right equipment, knowledge, and a little luck, you just might catch something. Based on the accounts of those who work and tend to the site, we firmly believe that the Hale Homestead still lodges some of America's famous family within. Whether you meet a ghost or not, the Hale Homestead is an awesome place to visit. The beautiful grounds and farmland only add to the enchantment of the historic site. Check out the house and many events that are going on year-round. Perhaps you will see why so many have stayed there long after they should have. Contact the Connecticut Landmark Society at www.ctlandmarks.org for more information. And that's what I did. Hopped on my computer. I said, you know what? I'm not going to let what happened with the Green Lady stop me from investigating and exploring and finding out if the paranormal truly exists. So, like I said, I hopped on my computer. Found out that they were willing to give me a private tour. Unguided. They would give me a map and let me be on my way. I said, thank you. I remember the day. Getting all my equipment ready, EMF, EVP, all the stuff that I needed to capture these Hale ghosts. If there were any Hale ghosts to capture. I was most interested in the deacon. A stern man, they said. I planned on antagonizing this guy, you know what I'm saying? The little kid got him angry. I figured if I go in there as an adult and do some dumb shit, he's definitely gonna come out and show himself. Anyway, this is just all the stuff that I was planning before I actually got to the Hale Homestead. I pulled up, greeted the guide. His name was Jim. He said, hey, listen, we don't usually do stuff like this, give people unguided tours, but since, we've heard about your channel, No Order Without Chaos, we're gonna let you go ahead. I said, thanks, man, that's cool. It's really cool of you. He said, now, a word of warning. Word of warning, there's 2 rooms you want to be specifically careful of. Had a lot of activity there. The attic, where they kept their dead, and the judgment room. Many people have seen the deacon sternly staring at them. Scares the shit out of a lot of people. Pardon my language. Oh, that's alright. I swear a lot myself. You're not offending me at all. I said, well, you know what? Lead me to this judgment room. Why waste the time? I want to go ahead and get right in this. So, he points in the direction after he hands me the map and says, just follow the map. Everything that you need is right there. Have at it. Have a great day. We'll see you later. I started walking across this beautiful, beautiful scenery. It's wonderful. Rolling hills, trees, grass, old colonial style buildings, the house, the barn. Made my way to the barn first. I said, you know what? I'm going to save the attic and the judgment room for last. Let's check out the barn. And of course, let's not forget the basement. We got to check the cellar, but not yet. So I head into the barn. It's quiet because, I'm the only person there. It's real quiet. Grab my electronic voice recorder and I start talking. Like, hey, old colonial ghost people. How you doing? Bet you didn't think you was gonna see my ass here walking around on your fucking property, did you? Press record. Wanted to see if I got any voices. Played it back. I heard a low sort of growl. I didn't think nothing of it at first, right? Maybe it was distortion, wind, something else. So I tried again. Hey, colonial people, Hales, what's up? How y'all doing? Shit, dead actually. I was just being a dick on purpose because I figure get them riled up. This is their home. This is their place. Rile them up by saying disrespectful shit. Normally I wouldn't do that, but I wanted to see all this shit happen. The last time I went, it was the Green Lady. I didn't have to do a whole lot of anything for shit to pop up, but I figured there's supposed to be a lot of ghosts here. Let's get a ghost party going, right? Yeah. Shit. Press record. Played it back. This time the growl was more defined. a little bit louder. Now this time I knew that what I recorded wasn't the wind or any strange distortion. It was actually a growl. So I decided to set up my spirit box. That's the noise it makes. I'm sure you people are familiar with it. It's in the background. And I'm asking questions, just being a total dick. Saying all types of stupid stuff like, I bet you wish that your sons didn't die by the British, did you? Oh, but it was worth it because we're all free. Ha ha! Just antagonizing type shit. Fucking, all of a sudden I hear, I'm like, wait a minute. Was that fuck you? Did you say fuck me? So that's what I heard. It said it twice. Fuck you, and then fuck you again. I knew I was getting a response. I was excited. The hair on the back of my neck was standing up. I was like, yes! And this is just a barn! Haven't even gotten in the house yet. Ooh, this is cool. And what made it so cool is it was just like voices and shit. Nothing was grabbing me. Nothing was touching me. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like when I visited the Green Lady and shit and things were trying to pull my ass into the fucking marsh. No, this was just voices telling me to basically go fuck myself. I would have told myself to go fuck myself too if I was saying fucking rude shit. This is what it is. So, I wrapped things up in the barn, satisfied that this was gonna be a cool ass adventure. I had some evidence, some recordings, some growls, some fuck yous. Everything was going great. Couldn't have asked for a better experience. Then I got to the house. Now, before I got to the house, I was walking to the house, obviously, from the barn. And off in the distance, I saw a woman in white, old-timey dress. Just walking. She had like one of those little umbrellas for the sun, that they used to carry and shit. And she was just walking, I'm thinking to myself, maybe, right? It's just like, this is old colonial home. So maybe they have like people dressed up in that time era's clothing just to walk about the property, to just make it seem a little bit more authentic and real and shit and give you that historical feel. So I didn't really think too much of it at the time. You know what I'm saying? I just put it in the mental memory bank, but moved on. Like, oh shit. Kept moving, right? Get to the house. I'm getting ready to open the door. And I decide, well, why open it? They're supposed to fucking be here, right? Why don't I just knock on the door? So I start banging on this fucking door like Popo. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang. Banging on the door. Banging on it, right? Just being a total rude ass bastard. Grab out my EVP recorder. Start recording. Hey! Somebody open the motherfucking door! Shit! It's cold out here! It really wasn't cold outside, but I'm figuring ghosts don't know if it's cold or not. Shit, they're ghosts. They're dead. Who knows? But they know. I don't know what they know. But like I said, I was just being an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I was doing. Provoke the ghost, get a response. So, as I record, after I'm saying, let me in and shit, I obviously play it back. And what I heard made me a little angry. Get us the fucketh away from our door. Whoa! Get it the fucketh away from our door? Shit! Ha! Rude bastards. But then again, I was being rude, so I shouldn't have expected anything less, right? Of course not. If somebody was banging on my door, I would probably have told them to get the fuck away from my door too. Shit. Anyway, so I'm satisfied again with these responses I'm getting. I'm getting all types of great shit. Voices in the barn, growls, EVPs, banging on the door, got another EVP. I am like, yes, this is one of the best investigations that I have ever done. Yeah. Yeah, right? So, I knock on the door again, but this time in a more normal manner, Now remember, door is closed. In order for the door to open, you have to turn the knob, right? It's not just going to open on its own, but it did open on its own. The doorknob turned. Door opened inward. Now I'm expecting to see maybe one of the people who works there, the people who keep the property up, come walking out. Because they're there. There's just nobody else there. But I was allowed, like I said, to tour on my own. So I wasn't completely and totally alone. There just weren't other guests, I should say. But the people who worked there were still there, the caretakers. But there was nobody inside the building, right? The door opened, there was no one there. Now, I looked around the doorway for a second there, looking for strings and shit, seeing if maybe they rigged this house with stuff to make it seem like it was haunted when it really wasn't. That's one of the things that I try to do, is disprove any of these claims of haunted places. Because, sometimes, especially if something's been sitting for a long time, people want to make some money, they'll rig shit. Try to make it seem like, oh, ghosts and stuff, blah, 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 right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. They knew I was coming by myself and wasn't going to be toured with anybody else, so they probably set up some little booby traps to scare me. Checked the door, nothing. Everything was as they said it was in 1802. Furniture was old-timey. All that shit. So I walk through the door. And I go to reach, I'm still looking in front of me. I'm not looking behind me. And I go to grab the door to close it. And before I can grab the door, it slams shut. Bang! Oh, shit. I'm startled. Whew. Started pressing my recorder immediately. Because I'm thinking, if something's slamming doors, it's probably talking about some shit, right? Play back the recording. What I heard is, closeth the fucking door. This is not the barn. And that was it. It's like, oh shit. Another one. That's pretty cool. Now, I'm looking around the first room, just which I imagine is like a parlor. You know what I mean? Sitting chairs there, a table and stuff. Looking at the windows and shit. I see like an old, what looked like some type of like writing table. A piece of old paper and like a quill pen. The quill pen dipped itself into the fucking ink. Well, that was sitting there. Now there was no ink in this well. I'm looking at this shit and I'm kind of feeling like things they're not fake. This is some real shit happening. How are you gonna like make a quill move, dip itself into a ink well, and then begin writing on this piece of paper, old paper, like parchment paper, that was sitting there. I'm looking at it and it's scribing as it's going. I'm standing at least about 5 feet from this. I didn't want to get too close until it was finished. I didn't want to interrupt what was going on. I watched it put the quill down. I walked over to it. And what I read chilled me to my core. It said, "Thy soul is dirty. Thou shalt leave this place or forever be imprisoned." Those were the words. I kid you not. In red, like it was blood. But there was no ink in the well. So where did this red, blood-colored liquid come from? I took a picture. I turned around, looked around the room, and when I looked back at the paper, it was completely blank, which was why I was glad I took a picture of it. You can't erase this type of shit. Anyway, so at that point, I hear what sounds like footsteps on the same floor that I'm on, but in a different room. They were slow, heavy, like it was a big person. Not fat, but just big, sizable. Bigger than me, probably. Or they were just walking really heavy or had some boots on. Anyway, it sounded like it was coming towards the room that I was in. Right? course, I get out my camera. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, let me set up a camera in here. Record this room. I'm going to go into the area where I hear these footsteps coming from. Because once again, like I said, there are caretakers on the property. So it could be one of them. So I call out, hey! Hey! Is anybody else in here? No response. At least not one that was audible enough to hear with the ears that were on my head. So I asked again, hello, is there anyone there? And I pressed my recorder. I played it back. And what I heard were the words, leave now. Now, there were still 3 places I wanted to see. The judgment room, the attic, and the cellar. So I wasn't about to listen to this leave now shit. I'm thinking to myself, thy soul is dirty. My soul's not dirty. I'm a decent human being. What are they talking about? It's dirty soul. Then I started thinking, these people were of the colonial time, and I'm not typically the type of person who would be walking around freely, if you get what I mean, inside their house. And I started to think a little bit there. I might not want to anger these people too much, right? So I started to become a little bit more polite. Asking permission to do certain things before I just started being a complete and total asshole, right? Started walking through the house. And as I walked, I kept hearing footsteps behind me. But when I would turn around, they'd stop. Temperature got colder. It felt like somebody had put a cold blanket on my back. I didn't like this feeling at all. But I was not leaving this house until I visited the cellar, the judgment room, and the attic. So I started to move a little faster, you know what I'm saying? All the while, asking questions, recording EVP responses and things of that nature. It was then when I noticed a shadow move past the window on the outside, though. And I'm thinking, this for sure has to be one of the caretakers. Right? Wrong. I was wrong again. Immediately a window shot up, like somebody was lifting it up. And then I heard like something came through the window. And then the window slammed down. I was like, oh shit. The fuck? Then all of a sudden, I started getting cold all over me. Like this coldness passed through me, going towards the door that I had just came out of. I heard the steps. Then the front door opened. It slammed shut. Now you're thinking to yourself, haven't you had enough of this shit? I mean, that's a lot of fucking activity to have happen to you, and you just walked in the fucking front door. I'm like, yeah, but I want to see the judgment room, the cellar, and the attic. In that order. So, I make my way to the judgment room. Now, remember, these are colonial people. Colonials. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 1700s and shit. So, I decide to tone down my rhetoric when dealing with the deacon. I don't want him to, whip me, if you get what I'm saying. That might be what he thinks of doing. He not have anything nice to say to me at all. Lucky for me, I guess ghosts are colorblind, so, I went in the room. I said, Deacon Hale, are you still roaming this house? Press my recorder. Played it back. 'Twas the night of my death. A covenant was made. I shall roam until eternity. I was like, It was at that point I looked at his, the picture of him, the portrait that they have, and I noticed that his eyes were fixated on me. Right on me. Now I know what you're gonna say, right? Oh, yeah. Let me guess. You walked one way and he looked at you. No matter where you were in the room, he was looking. Nope, that's not what happened at all. It's not what happened at all. The eyes in the painting, portrait, then looked towards the back wall. So I looked towards the back wall. And when I looked, there he was, standing there, clear as day. Deacon Hale, just stern. His colonial garb, his hat, with a musket in his hands. He began to point the musket at me. I got fucking shook. I'm not gonna lie. I stumbled out of that fucking room with the quickness. I was like, alright, I've seen the judgment room. I see how he did some judging. Shit. Glad I wasn't alive during his time period. Motherfucker, shit. Almost had a heart attack. My heart still beating hard in my chest. It was when I decided, let's go down to the cellar and see where John died of consumption, tuberculosis. Started down the steps. It was dark as shit. Of course, I have my light with me, right? Turn my light on. As I'm going down the stairs, I hear coughing. Like really bad coughing, like somebody's hacking up a fucking lung. Right. Once again, even though I've seen all this paranormal shit going on, I'm thinking maybe someone's down here straightening the basement up, cleaning it or whatever, and they got some dust caught in their throat, and they're coughing. As I thought left my mind, I heard the rattling of chains. And more coughing. So at this point, I felt just a feeling of dread. Just a dreadful feeling. I felt trapped, right? Even though the door was open. It hadn't closed or anything like that, so I wasn't trapped. But I started to feel trapped. I felt a sense of despair come over me. And then this coldness just washed over me from head to toe. And I started to feel sick. My chest started to hurt. I was feeling dizzy, kind of like nauseous. Then I started coughing. Uncontrollably. But I said, I have to continue forward. I have to keep going. So, I made my way down the stairs, slowly but surely, flashlight in hand. Flashed it into open space. I saw the chains hanging from the ceiling. They were still. They weren't moving. They didn't look like they had been moved. In fact, there was like cobwebs on them and shit. So they hadn't been disturbed in the time that it took me to walk from the top of the stairs when I first heard the chains to the bottom of the stairs, right? Just thinking about it brings back the feelings of nausea. Anyway, so I'm standing here and I'm just looking at these chains. They've got like the little things for holding people's wrists. I don't remember what you call it off the top of your head right now, but let's just say wrist holders for the chains. Cufflinks. We'll call them cufflinks. So the cufflinks and the chains are hanging there. Now I'm thinking to myself, this is a fucked up way to have to die, chained up in a basement. Jeez. I heard a whisper in my ear. Death comes to all. It's like, oh shit. What the fuck was that? Then all of a sudden the chains start moving. But not in the same direction as each other. One's going this way, the other one's going that way. So they're going like this. As if somebody's doing this with their arms, right? I start freaking out. I turn around to go back up the stairs, and the door closes. Slams shut. And what sounds like a latch or a locking mechanism of some sort clicks. I'm like, oh fuck no. Oh no. I run up the stairs, fucking with the door, shaking it. Trying to open this door. The chains are rattling, the coughing is going on and on and on. It's just coughing, it's getting louder and louder, and the rattling of the chains is getting more and more violent. And then I hear steps coming up the stairs. Coming towards me. Now, I'm freaking out at this time. I'm not playing with you. I was scared shitless because I'm locked in a fucking basement with somebody who was locked in a fucking basement and then died of some horrible fucking disease, which is a really fucked up way to go. You know what I'm saying? I don't know anybody out here who would want to go that way. Nobody wants to go. Shit, you don't want to go in a hospital in a nice soft bed. Bright lights and family visiting. You know, but nobody wants to go to the hospital. So imagine being locked in a cellar, chained, and dying. This ghost was not fucking happy at all. It's not happy. John was not happy. Whew. I heard the sound of the low growling again. It was getting closer and closer as this entity walked up the steps, chains rattling, coughing in the background. I was really starting to pray. I really did. I was sitting there, God, please, Lord Jesus, help me. I do not want to die in this basement. I don't want to be stuck here. Door opened. I ran, turned around, closed that shit, and locked it. Fuck that shit. Now you're thinking to yourself, right? You left the property, right? You went? No, I didn't leave. I figured I'm out of the basement, so I'm not where all the craziness is happening. So, told you I want to see the attic. It's the last place I want to see, and then I'll leave. Right? Turn around the corner from the basement and go down this small hallway that leads to the stairs that go upstairs to the upper part of the house. I'm walking. I hear light footsteps, like a small person, child or small woman. I hear humming. Just humming some kind of tune. Right? As I get up the stairs, I see a woman. Excuse me. Dressed, old-timey clothes. She turns to me and she smiles. I smile back at her. I say, hey, how you doing? And as I get ready to speak, she just fades away. I'm assuming that was a housekeeper, because she looked like she would be a housekeeper and not like the owner of the house, but like somebody who probably kept up the house. I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around and there she was again. She said, the spirits are restless. Restless they are. Then she faded away again. Now, I knew that they were restless. They were all over the fucking place. They were in the barn. They were in Mr. Deacon's room. They were in the fucking basement. All over this house. So they were definitely restless. I came on a day, a historical day for me, anyway. You know what I'm saying? It was fucking crazy. So I keep going up the stairs. I get to where the hatch is for the attic. Pull down the steps. I ascend. I get into the attic. And I'm greeted with this terrible, putrid stench. Like rotting flesh. Ugh. And I just shine my light around. I don't see anything in there other than like tables and chairs and things of that time period. But I don't see like an animal carcass or a human carcass or anything like that. No carcasses. I'm thinking maybe a squirrel got in here and died. So I climb up, holding my nose, it stinks. I'm shining my light around corners under tables and things, opening the little drawers and stuff. Nothing. But the smell, it was foul. Oh, God, it was so foul. Odoriferous. Just terrible. I got out my recorder and I asked one question. Is there anyone here? Pressed the button, played it back, and I heard several voices at once say, "We are here." So I asked, "Why are you here?" "He won't let us leave," they said. "Who won't let you leave?" "The deacon." Now, I asked another question, which you would probably think is a stupid question to ask. "Are you the Hales?" I asked them. Because remember, their family would be kept up here to pass on. But the answer I got was no. They weren't. They weren't the Hales. So now I'm wondering, well, what the fuck are people who aren't the Hales doing dead on the Hales property? Well, I found out. Don't get mad at me for telling you what they told me. This is what the spirits told me, alright? Now, I'm not trying to take away from Nathan Hale's heroism and the patriotic death that he suffered for this country. Remember, they never found his body. So he's not there at the house. At least, I didn't think he was there. But he was. He was. One of the spirits had told me that after the death of his son, the deacon started to lose his faith. How could a family with such faith lose so much? He became angry. And what he started to do was seek out British sympathizers. Yeah, that's right. Anybody who was still loyal to the British, or I should call them loyalists, he would find, he would capture, he would torture, and then he would hang them in the basement with his family that was suffering from tuberculosis to spread the disease to them. Then upon their deaths, he wouldn't bury them. No. Not at all. He would rend the meat from their bones, store it in the attic for it to rot, because he felt that that was all they deserved for being loyalists to those who had killed his sons. This went on for many years until the deacon finally died. The souls of these people could not pass on. And it's because the deacon would not allow them to. He has been standing vigilantly, making sure that they never see peace for their part that they played in trying to prevent this nation from becoming the nation that it is now. Now, I kind of felt sorry for these people at first, you know. You got to try to understand things from their point of view, right? You know, they're just colonists trying to live their life. It's not their fault that they happened to believe in the government that founded the colonies, right? They didn't see this independence thing as a worthwhile fight. You know, they're British. They've seen the might of the British Empire. They didn't think that it was possible for the United States to become an independent nation. So out of fear, many of them did give information to the British on the Patriots. Deacon Hale would hear none of this. None of this. He had faith in the nation becoming a nation. And that was made ever stronger every time he lost one of his family members to the tyranny of the British. After listening to their story, they asked if there was something I could do to help them. I just go here to check shit out, people. I'm not like some kind of medium or anything like that, so I don't really know what I can do to help you. Like, I hate to say it, but you're kind of shit out of luck. I heard those heavy boot-like footsteps stomping from the first floor up the stairs towards the opening to the attic. Immediately in my mind, I'm thinking this is probably Deacon Hale, and I should probably leave here. But it wasn't the deacon. It wasn't the deacon at all. What I saw scared the shit out of me. I went to the opening for the attic. As I'm coming down and coming up the stairs is a man whose head is crooked off to the side just a little bit, as if his neck was broken. And in his hands were ghostly heads, like 3 of them. Just holding them by the hair. They were women, unfortunately. And I recognized from pictures and portraits that the man or specter, the specter that I was laying eyes upon, was none other than Nathan Hale. Yeah, you're saying, but his body was never found. No, but his spirit found its way back. And him and his father, Deacon Hale, are exacting their revenge against the spirits of those loyalists. Now you're saying, how is that possible? Well, I'm going to tell you real quick before I end the story. Tell you how the fuck I got out of there. The deacon tells his son the names of those that were around the community that didn't side with the Patriots. And Nathan goes out, finds their spirits, and drags them back here to the attic, where they will be tortured and tormented for eternity. Now, as I'm looking at this broken-necked Nathan Hale, he looks at me. He points. Now, I already know what happens when ghosts be pointing at shit, so I wasn't even trying to look and see what the hell he was pointing at. I dove out the fucking window. 2 stories up. Not too high, because they didn't build houses really high back then. Hit the ground, rolled, and looked back up at the window that I had just jumped out of. And in it was Nathan Hale, looking down on me. He turned away, and away he walked. I looked down at the window where the judgment room was, and in the window was a stern-faced Deacon Hale. He just looked at me. He stared through me, it seemed. I felt ice in my chest. Got up. I dusted myself off. And I got the fuck out of there. Walked past the, entrance to where all the people were. And they said, hey, so how was the thing? See you later, bye. Got in my car and I left. I thought to myself, that was intense. That was intense. And it was intense. And that was my story of the day I visited the Hale Homestead.